Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today we're going to get into another frequently asked questions video. This is where I dive into my comment section and I see what you guys are critiquing, commenting on, questioning, and I'm going to do my best to answer 3 questions from 3 different videos. I do this regularly, so when you see a video that sparks something, make sure you drop that comment. I might just read it and respond to it. If I do, and if you leave your IGN, I will send a little thank you. Let's get into it. While I'm queuing up the comment section, I just want to say, this is the old screen that I used to use for my frequently asked questions videos, because I would do them when there was downtime. We got major maintenance today because land is coming. I can't believe it. So many years in the making. This moment is actually close. I can't believe it. But I love talking Splinterlands. So even while I'm sitting here waiting, I need to get into it. We need to talk Splinterlands. If you're new to my channel, my name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel1258, but you can just call me 12. And I would say that I cover Splinterlands almost every day. With the exception of offering some other non-NFT based video games, because I really think blockchain based video gaming is a revolution. I think it's going to transform how video games operate. I think there's opportunity in this. I think there's exciting, future multiplications of what we're putting into it. I really think that's possible. I've seen it, and I think more of it is yet to come. That's why I'm so convinced, why I'm so into it, and why I'm excited to tell you about it. So if that sounds interesting, make sure you like and subscribe. Let's grab 3 comments from 3 videos. This is a small video that I threw out last night. I actually did this Avarice Incarnate video for my members only before I released it for you guys publicly. And I do that regularly. I create members only content. They often see it first. Sometimes they only see it. No one ever sees it but them. There's a whole members only content list. If that sounds interesting, you want more Splinterlands content, you want more content from me, maybe check out the membership page, subscribe at whatever level you are interested, and you will have access to that. But on this one, I re-recorded some content because I really wanted to share in this video lore. I wanted to talk about the art style. I wanted to talk more in depth about what I was thinking on this new card, Avaricious, I think is how you say it. And so that was one card that Splinterlands allowed me to share. And so I really wanted to, honor that, even though the card had been, by that point, leaked through access on the map server. I wanted to make sure I honored that share with Splinterlands from them to me. So I did this video, and I see here Doomsday Creator 3K goes, Scattershot Double Strike is great with Dallin or with Waka. Ooh, I didn't even think about the Waka consideration. I did say in this one, that the Dallin play starts to feel a bit more important or relevant, because this card, actually, let me pull it up quickly so that I'm not just showing you that little thumb. I had the opportunity to show 2 cards, which was really cool. The first was Darg Dead Blast. That card I think is actually overpowered, and you'll see a top 5 list of cards that I think are the most overpowered so far for Rebellion. That'll be out later today on November 28th. I've got 5 cards that I think need to get nerfed. And then there's Avaricious. And this is the card. Great artwork. Look at this. Double Strike, Scattershot, 2 damage. Now the 2 damage is kind of not super impactful, but it's only 4 mana. And Double Strike, so I mean you're theoretically doing 4 damage. The other benefits that I really see, and I don't want to reiterate the whole video, but just, the fact that you can't control me with a taunt is super huge. And then, like he said in the comment, taking advantage of the Double Strike with a cripple that would be imparted by Dallin, the epic summoner from Rebellion. I'm getting twisted and turned, boys. Rift Watchers, I think, right? Rift Watchers. And then Scattershot. Like I said, allowing you to not be directed by a taunt that your opponent might drop. So cripple, great. Also, he points out Waka. Great suggestion. Hadn't seen it from that angle. You're totally right. Both of those summoners are really, I don't know. I don't want to say mocked, but they're not taken seriously, and you can tell that by the price points. We come in here and we just quickly look at this. And then we'll move on to question number 2. We go in death, and we come in here and we got regular foil. We got summoners kicked up. Look at these death summoners. You can get a max level card, 257. Okay. 257 for a Waka. If we look at legendary summoners, just for comparables, now there's no, it's hard to say comparables because there's no other summoner in the game that provides poison, but I mean 257 is like, especially for, you know, over here where this is going to be in the same ballpark, I guess. I don't know, maybe it's not all that cheap per se. 150 for Mimosa. So maybe Waka's not cheap, but I definitely don't hear a lot of people saying Waka is like a go-to. I don't see it often in the in rank play. I don't see it in brawls. I don't see it being utilized. So for the most part, I find that that was a promo card that was like a little bit of a fail in terms of its marketing capacity and the sales and the number that we had to ultimately burn. But I'm saying I think it's better than we give it credit for. And then absolutely drop double strike with Scattershot is going to just mix it up and put the poisons everywhere. Love that. And then finally Dallin. Where's Dallin at? So Dallin, one of the cheaper epics. Aquatus buck, 70 cents per BC on the high bid, 65 on the high bid, 137 on the, right in the keeping with Aquatus, which is kind of what I was expecting. These two were the most kind of teased. I would say Aquatus is my least favorite, but I do think this can be juicy and fun too in its own way. And I did have a big win yesterday using it. But yeah, Cripple has gotten that buff too. Remember, like it's no longer cleansable. Like that's significant. And as we start to look at more and more double striking monsters, I think this becomes more and more relevant. And remember, Death has not only one, not an Avariciodius only, but there's also the other legendary monster with double strike. If we just search double strike, and as we start to look at this, Raw and no, I guess you wouldn't have Carnage Titan. Oh yeah, Avariciodius and Raw. I can't show Avariciodius here because it's not on the market. But double strike archer, four, and both of them Scattershot. So you just put in poison or cripple every which way. I think that's going to be interesting. Now I think you got to play in higher mana match because they're both archers, and you don't want your archer slipping to the first position. But I mean, if you have the right team with the right tanks that are sustainable, and you let those Scattershots work, I think that's going to be an interesting card. I really do. And so yeah, I think this is strong, and I like the comment. I think you're right. I think that's going to be pretty juicy. Okay, one more comment on that same, because it's a short comment. SS goes, unfortunately the Scattershot makes it a weak card. Love the rest of it though. I would argue that you're pointing out there's a weakness to that in the sense of it's not focused. It's therefore not going to necessarily burn down a single monster by itself. But that's both a weakness and a strength. You have to just recognize the two sides of that coin. It's of course a weakness if your attempt and your approach to winning a certain game is focus fire, and that's a great approach. But as we well know, and as I alluded to a moment ago, and even in the video, when we talk about taunts, your enemy is going to use taunts to focus your fire. And they do so in a way that recognizes that if I can coerce you to walk through a certain lane, I know where you're going to go. That means I can prepare for how you come at me. So they want to coordinate your attack. And I would say in that respect, Scattershot is actually a benefit to you as an offensive technique, because especially when you partner with maybe poison, maybe cripple. And remember, not just those summoners, but items and spells will bring out those options. And plus there will be summoner tactics that can boost up this archery damage. I would say this could get to a really cool place. I think you're going to be surprised. And I do think Scattershot's a benefit. I think to some extent Scattershot is one of those abilities we haven't taken seriously, because a lot of the times we think to, I want to kill his main character. That's his front character. And it's like, yeah, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. Think through, your enemy's weaknesses are not always their front line. So coming hard and fast at that front position isn't always the most logical. And in the same way, that's why we like sneak. That's why we like opportunity. But then taunt restricts all of that. However, Scattershot counters taunt theoretically, especially if used effectively in conjunction with, like I say, poison, cripple, maybe amplify damage as a result of a summoner tactics. So I'll leave it there. We'll move on to another video with another comment. Mitch is always great. Mitch is a friend of the channel and a time and attention brother. He came on recently and we talked, I think, was he in this one? Maybe. We talked about Rebel cards anyways, new Rebellion monsters. Let's see, Mitch goes. Okay, so with this one, I was just showing Eversodius for the first time. This was a members only video. And there was a lot more in there. Like this was a 1 hour plus video where we talked not just about that, but all the newest ones that I hadn't yet seen. So I think there's 10 or 11 cards in there, and that's all going to just stay with members only. But Mitch watched it and he goes, more fodder for Antoid Platoon. Put weapon training and a chaos agent in front of the new 4-mana weapons trainer. Hang on a second here. Okay, I see what you're saying. I'll show you guys the visual of what he's explaining verbally. Maybe go sneak with inspire buff or use it as a tank with a new 2-mana archer to really be evasive up front. Okay, so oof, Mitch's brain just works different. It's built different, but he's explaining 3 different sort of approaches for the utility of this card. But let's go in here. Put weapons training with a chaos agent in front of the new 4-mana weapons trainer. So he's not talking about Eversodius. He's talking about the 4-mana weapons trainer. He and I talked about this one. Moxiel Rebel, 4-mana weapons trainer, and he's saying Chaos Agent, which you guys know, that 1-mana, 4 hit point, very evasive, 4 speed, dodge, phase, off tank. So 1-mana off tank in front with the weapon trainer, giving both of them magic, making both of them phaseable, making, you know, pretty resilient too. Good amount of hit points. As long as you can bring them blind, that'd be wild. I mean, you're talking about a 5-mana team, Chaos Agent and that 4-mana weapons trainer, 5-mana team, and it's pretty evasive, pretty dangerous, and those are both neutrals. So you could play that in context with like any summoner you want, one that provides backfire, one that provides, you know, +2 speed, one that provides, right? Because those are both neutral, aren't they? Moxiel Rebel is a neutral, and so is Chaos Agent. Let's look for something that's got a good amount of thumbs up or maybe thumbs down. Okay. Here we go. Erroneous got a couple thumbs up plus a couple of replies. Let's see what he's got going on. So this is me releasing Dark Dead Blast and the Weapons Trainer meta. That's a video where I was specifically focusing on what this card can do, Dark Dead Blast, and I think it's overpowered. And like I said, I'm releasing a video talking about the top 5 rebels that need a nerf. This is one of them, in my opinion. And I don't say that because I want it. I actually love this card. I hope it comes out just as is. Now, it is a legendary, so maybe you can get away with it being overpowered. But, I mean, as we know, Weapon Trainer is getting a massive buff. And I just think this is so juicy. Theoretically, putting 9 magic on the table through this one card. And you could put it in conjunction with the Chaos Agent, 1 mana. And maybe because this is blue, you could put the Kelp Initiate, 2 mana. You're talking right there for 10 mana, this card and those 2, 10 mana, you're putting 9 magic damage on the table because of this Weapon Trainer ability. And again, because it's magic, it's the best Weapon Trainer. Put it in the 4th spot, the 5th spot, the 3rd spot, and bury it in that dead center so it can really just thrive. It's even got a good amount of hit points. So I do think that card is strong. Let's see what the comment says. Erroneous goes, to expand on my previous comment on one of your videos about modifiable Soulbound Reward cards, which was a great comment, by the way. We talked about that. He was talking about like almost an RPG element. Like you have Soulbound cards that are your own, but they're not only your own, they're more unique than any Soulbound cards we've experienced in Splinterlands. It's not just level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or whatever. It's this distinction and divergence within the development and leveling up of your card. So your version of that Soulbound card will be entirely distinct from what my Soulbound might be in very exciting ways. Like you could imagine you can make and picture any RPG you've ever played. You can play more tanky or you can play more ranged. And maybe every card would have its own sort of like chain of upgrades that you could consider and lean one way or another. Or he said maybe it would be quite random by burning cards. Let's see what else he says here. The idea was to start taking steps on the game strategy side of things to thwart bot and battle helper developers. Yep. Because if he's saying if we had really truly modifiable cards in the game, ones that were so unique that not even two people had the same card, it then starts to become one, exciting because you get to think through modifying. Two, you create burn mechanisms for cards so that you can like pay in some sense to modify. But then finally, it makes it difficult for bots because these are these one-off cards that they have to think through and they can't collect enough data on. And so therefore, it's like your curveball. As a pitcher analogy, it's like the curveball you throw when you're not expecting it and you get that strikeout. So he goes, really, it needs to be comprehensive strategy from all sides. Legal, game mechanics, DAO proposals, tokenomics, the parts, the three parts, the players and the team and the DAO need to come together and value fair human play and stay vigilant. Yep, I agree. So Soulbound mod cards is what I would call them. A set of Soulbound modifiable cards with the base stats that we can add one or two abilities to using land resources, crafting, and training. After thinking for some time, it should be rares and epics. Rares, we can add one ability to, epics 2. These abilities would vary depending on player choices, and they would be blurred out if a bot dev looked up our inventory, and also would be blurred out in a battle history. Now, I'm not sure technically how that's possible, because once something reaches the blockchain, now I don't know if the battle history is even stored on the blockchain. I think it was at one point, and I think maybe it's no longer because of concerns around people reading the blockchain to see. I think it still is. So I guess technically I don't know the convenience and the possibility of that. But if that's possible to blur it out, great. Additionally, to further throw bot devs off, we could have a land-based crafting training ability that allows us to lower the mana on a legendary card by 1. This was brought up on the People's Guild podcast to Nate, but in a different way. Also hide this in an inventory battle history. So you're talking about really controlling the development of your deck and also obfuscating, like concealing some of your unique talents in your deck from analysis of the opponent, and therefore really confusing bots as well as even human players, which is cool. We like the capacity to pull one over, right? That's items and spells in some senses is really a new game mechanic. Even Summoner Tactics is a new game mechanic that will enable us to throw our enemy a curveball. And I think that's what I'm hearing you describe, which I like. And you finally say, additionally, maybe you can have one ability that only exists for epic Soulbound cards called Shield Extension or Shield Adoption, and this would count as 2 abilities when adding modifications to an epic Soulbound card. It would adopt any shield or anti-shield ability from the card next to it. Interesting. I really like that ability. It's like another synergistic one where it's like depends what you put next to it, and that thinking through is like so complicated. Just like with Weapons Trainer and really the way the game is moving, and even Lookout as well as Summoner Tactics, there's these new abilities that are there's like first order, second order implications of them. They literally touch and affect the cards next to them in ways that you have to think through, and that there's such complexity that's coming to the game through that. And I love where your head's at in terms of adding even more of that with like a shield adoption type idea. Great comment. I love that. Let's do it for sure. I think this is getting to a place where it's almost proposal-able. Now, you still need, I think, keep thinking about Erroneous, and I keep dropping comments. Maybe we can even have you on. We could talk about this, half an hour, 45 minutes. I think this is awesome. And I think this is great. Let's talk about it. 2 quick comments. Davey Prendergast 82. It needs to either not be play to earn and not allow anonymous accounts. You can't put mechanisms in place to stop bots. If there still is value on the table, they'll just regroup and find other ways. You can have financial rewards on the table in case you have to ensure it's one account per player, whether through KYC or etc. Mechanisms to nerf bots and also nerf real players. You can't just keep doing that until the value is 0. There's literally nothing you can do to only affect one. The best bit is I might just say Davey's point is potentially true. but not necessarily true. There can be a careless approach to bot handling and bot response, and even, you might even say, to the individualization of a deck, and you could go too far to a place where it's just too complicated for a human player, therefore taking away joy and entertainment and opportunity for a human player. But I would say that there's a path that you can navigate, and we have, in my opinion, navigated quite well, not perfectly, but quite well. And so I don't think I agree with the idea that there is no path to having sort of a balance between kind of curtailing bot actions while still allowing human enjoyment. Because I think we're striving for that, and we're going to miss that target a little bit sometimes, but I think we're getting there. KYC is complicated, costly, and involves coordinating law enforcement and governments. You would have to contract it out, and it's not small expense. Yep, that's right. So I mean, for sure, and plus KYC in my mind is antithetical to even what Splinterlands and blockchain-based video gaming was initially aiming at. And maybe that's just that thought needs to kind of die, because maybe where we initially aim isn't where we ultimately land. But I do think, at least from the cost perspective, we do need to recognize KYC, know your customer, is lied and broken and cheated, even where it's implemented inside the world. Like people do all kinds of things to circumvent traditional KYC because they want to. And it's just, to me, I feel like any law that exists often hurts the individuals that are the most compliant, and those who are intent on being non-compliant find a way. So I think there's always that battle, and I think we have to navigate somewhere between Davy's concern as well as Erroneous's sort of lofty goals, because I think that's possible. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for the comments, guys. I appreciate all of it. Have an amazing day. God bless.